Welcome to the Short Faith Reflections. This is Tigmo, your host. Today's reflection is on faith. Faith is central to the new federal state of China. But what is faith? To answer this question in a simple manner, we can say that faith is a loving relationship between God and creation. God initiates the relationship. Creation loves God in return. To illustrate this relationship, let me tell you a true story about Pete Bookman and his dog Buster. Ever since he graduated high school, Bookman has worked in construction. But when he lost his job in 2014, he found himself unable to pay rent, and was forced to move into a tent. Bookman was happy to camp for a while, but the situation was rough on his 9-year-old dog Buster. Bookman had no way to care for Buster. Desperate to ensure the safety of his arthritic pup, Bookman brought Buster to an animal shelter called Faithful Friends Animal Society in Wilmington. This animal shelter showed tremendous kindness and took Buster in. Bookman also found a homeless shelter for himself up the road. But they were never separated for very long. Bookman would walk 5 miles every day so he could visit Buster. Every day, rain or shine, Bookman walked to the shelter to visit Buster and volunteer at the shelter by walking the other dogs for 2 to 3 hours. 5 years after, the 58-year-old Bookman continues repaying the animal shelter by volunteering. And it has led to a heap of rewards and a new life. After national news outlets caught wind of Bookman's story, hundreds of people offered their support. A local resident gave him a truck for free. A transitional housing initiative gave him 6 months free rent at a nearby apartment complex. A fire security company offered him a job, which he still keeps to this day. And people from around the world collectively donated over $39,000 to a GoFundMe campaign that was created on his behalf. Buster died after 2 years. Upon knowing Buster's death, Bookman said, "He was my buddy, he was my family, really. It was hard." But that's not the end of the story. Pete Bookman never stopped volunteering and donating to the animal shelter. He said that, "The Faithful Friends Animal Shelter helped me save my faithful friend Buster. I am forever grateful to this shelter." Though he was heartbroken after the death of his dog Buster, the loneliness would not last for long. Shelter staffers soon asked Bookman for a favor. They asked Bookman if he considered fostering a troubled mutt called Mateo. Stuck at Faithful Friends for years because his former owners had not treated him well. Mateo had become very reactive. No one wanted him. Mateo was unadoptable because he barked at everything and hated women. Pete Bookman took Mateo. Bookman bonded with the dog during his volunteer walks at the shelter and decided to take the pup home for a weekend. It didn't take long for him to adopt Mateo for good. Because he was in a loving home, Mateo became a changed dog. He stopped showing an aversion to women and he only barks a little when Pete Bookman turns on the vacuum. There are times in our lives when, like Pete Bookman, we find ourselves in a tough situation. And during this hard time, if we still do not stop extending love to others by finding ways to help the needy, like how Pete Bookman treated Buster and Mateo, we become aware of auspicious events happening, and realize that helpful people come to our aid. Just like the outpouring of gifts Pete Bookman received from strangers. In short, Precisely because we never stopped loving others, time came when others responded by loving us back in return. This is the loving relationship that we refer to when we asked about the meaning of faith. People who have faith believe that God is in them, and they cooperate with God totally. They let God move in and through their lives without their interference. In good and bad times, and with their total cooperation. They let God be the God who continues to initiate loving relationships with others. God calls us to have faith in Him. God waits for us to bring Him in our lives. And with ways and means we received from God, we are called to show God's mercy and justice to others. That is all for today. This is your host Tig Mo saying, God bless the new federal state of China.